Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
We thank the Most High Aliyahu for allowing us to come out another day to come in fellowship and break bread in the Word and, have love on each other and let us grow together. Hallelujah. So at this time, we're going to have our blowing of the shofar by Zardakan, Aliyahu. And after the blowing of the shofar, we're going to have our prayer by our Aliyahu. He's going to pray us in. And then we will immediately get into the lesson. Hallelujah. I want to ask everybody to stand to their feet, turn towards the east, looking towards Jerusalem as we begin to hear the blowing of the shofar and begin to pray to Aliyahu.
Set in our hearts that we may work the fruits of repentance and walk in the way that's pleasing unto you, and that this Shabbat service may be edifying to our Ruach, giving all glory and esteem to your name, in the name of your Son, Aliyahu. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Hallelujah. We thank the Most High Aliyahu for another set-apart day coming out, allowing us to come together in fellowship, and we want to give all praises to the Father Aliyahu and for the giving of His Son, who gave His life to shed His blood to bring us back into covenant relationship with Him, and we thank Him for that. And we thank the Most High for how He's protected us all week long and how He's provided shelter for us. He's given us food and clothing. We thank Him for all of these things. We thank Him for how He's allowed His guardian Malakim to encamp around us and protected us from all hurt, harm, and danger seen and unseen. We thank Him for all things. At this time, we're going to continue our lesson. We're still talking about the Lamb. Hallelujah. And last week we spent time going over the sacrifices and get some understanding. We're going to continue that lesson. And I think a lot of time as believers we don't realize how important these sacrifices were and why they were so strict concerning to how they should be done. And when we look at the sacrifices and look at the offerings, we're talking about a system that had, started within Eden, Adam, in the garden. And because of what took place in the garden, there will be a need for that same sacrificial system throughout until there will come a time until the Redeemer would come and not only restore mankind, but also restore the children of Israel as a nation, being a covenant nation. So when we look at these things, we have to look at it and ask ourselves, wow, what was the purpose of all of these sacrifices? What was the purpose of all of these offerings? And I think a lot of times when we read Leviticus, we never ask ourselves that. we read it, we take it as verbatim from what we read, and we just brush over it and just run through it. And a lot of times that's how we fail to have the proper understanding, because if we deem something to be boring to us that doesn't, hold our attention, we kind of tend to brush over it and run through it. And that's not a good time. Most times you're reading something that's boring. 9 out of 10 times, that's the most important part of what you should be reading. Because it's going to lay the groundwork or give you insight on everything else. And so the Most High set this sacrificial system up for a reason. Because something happened to the point where he had to institute something in order to yet be able to what? Have a relationship with man. And so when we notice when Adam and Eve, when they were exiled out of the garden, what was the first thing required of them? Sacrifice. Soon as Noah's ark hit dry land, what was the first thing required of Noah? Sacrifice. So you have to ask yourself, what is it about this? Why is this so important? So when we look at these sacrifices and all, when we go back to these words dealing with when we see the word offering, it comes from the Hebrew word hikri. And when you see hikri, and you know the understanding of it, it means to bring near. Why is that important? It means to bring near. And what are you bringing near? And what are you being brought near to? And when we look at sacrifice, we get zabah, and you also get a word korban. Now, we have to ask ourselves, if we're making a sacrifice, he's asking you something, you're bringing something near. What's the purpose of bringing this sacrifice near? Because something was going to happen. But remember, he said all of these things was what? A foreshadowing. And these things were what? Be a schoolmaster or a tutor and a teacher until what? Until what? Yeah, Hamashiach will come and he will fulfill these things. But until that time, he had this system into play. So, when we look at this, of all of this, so if that was going to be temporal, when did these sacrifices take place? Anybody know when the sacrifices took place? No, the sacrifices in general. When they had to sacrifice the lamb, the pigeons, the goat, and all this.
Outside the temple.
It happened what? Outside the temple.
Right.
So, if the sacrifices were going to be temporal, guess what else was going to be temporal? The temple itself. You notice when we get to the Messianic teachings of the New Testament, what happens? It starts speaking of what? Our body as being what? The temple.
Hallelujah.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
It starts speaking of our bodies being the temple. Why is that? So, if all of these sacrifices were done, if something was being brought near to Yahuwah, who had to bring it near in order for it to be brought near to Yahuwah?
The high priest.
The high priest. Did he not say Israel was what? A nation of what? A kingdom of priests. So now what happens is, something happened in the garden, something happened with the nation of Yashra'al. They both what? What happened? Something happened in the garden with Adam and Eve. Something happened at Sinai with the nation of Yashra'al. They sinned, but what more so happened to them? They sinned, yes. They broke the covenant. So if they broke the covenant, they were no longer what? Under covenant. Say it again, little bro.
In covenant relationship.
In covenant relationship with the Father. So if you're not in covenant relationship with the Father, guess where you are? You're outside. So if he made a covenant that you should be face to face, pony with him, remember he came and walked in the cool of the evening and he spoke to who? Adam in the garden. They had a relationship. But you know when he put Adam out of the garden, what happened? There was a divided separation. But so he still loved his creation, so what did he do? He instituted a system of sacrifice. Now, instead of you being cut off or you die, now I'm giving you something. You have to present this blood to me. This has to be sacrificed, and the only way you can be in covenant with me, now you have to what?
Make atonement for your sins.
Atone for your sin, and make an atonement for your sin. What does it do?
Get you back in the covenant relationship.
It brings you back into covenant with him temporarily. So when we look at the word atone or atonement, y'all ever broke that word down? At 1 minute. He brings you back into relationship with him, or to be able to deal with him by way of a relationship through the sacrifices and the offerings. Everybody with me? Okay. Now, so when we're looking at these offerings and these sacrifices, it's very important to know what's going on. All of it was about bringing you back into relationship with the Father, putting you in a position where you could have a relationship with him. Because every time you step before him with a sacrifice, what's the first thing that should come to your mind? Shalom, shalom. Every time you step to him with the sacrifice, what's the first thing that should come to your mind?
Repentance.
So you have repentance, but what else? Say it again, Pookie. Okay, that too. But every time you present a sacrifice, when you see that sacrifice being slaughtered, cut into pieces, you see all that blood.
A reminder.
And what is a reminder?
A reminder that you broke the covenant.
And what else?
And that he was bringing you back into that the shade of
It was to be a reminder that you broke the covenant, and every time you presented that sacrifice, every time you saw that blood, that was supposed to be you. Remember what he told when he entered the covenant with Abraham?
So death is breaking.
Yeah, whoever broke that covenant, they were to die in like manner as those pieces or the animals that were sacrificed. And that's why I always mention, you know, what's the first thing happened when they broke the covenant at Sinai? Did the Most High tell him he was going to keep his word, right? He was fixing to wipe out all of Israel. Moses interceded. And that's when he gave him the sacrifice. But he told Moses before Moses, he said, He said, I'm going to kill them all. He said, I'll start over with your seed. He said, I'll take you and I'll build me a nation. He was going to do just what he said, the oath that was sworn. But because he loved Israel so, because he, loved Moses so, because he knew Moses was a good leader. Moshe was an excellent leader. And he honored his word. He said, I tell you what, instead of me killing them, this sacrificial system now, it'll be instituted for what? In placement of the people of the nation of Yashra'al. So they wouldn't have to die, but something has to die. You ever notice when it comes to every offering and sacrifice, and mainly the sacrifices, the animal is always innocent. but it's the person that's presenting the animals at guilt or at fault. It happens every time. It happened in the garden. It happened at Sinai, all the way throughout the scriptures. That's why I said our culture, everything we do is built off of a sacrificial system from Adam all the way throughout the book. That's why I emphasize something in going with this, because all of this is leading to Isaiah 53, because we got to break that down and tear down all these lies and this foolishness. That's what I was explaining when I'm going to show you the importance of this covenant. When you see him enter in that covenant with Abraham, it's the same covenant passed down to Isaac. The same covenant passed down to Jacob, but it gets added to, there's an inheritance added to. When he entered into that covenant with Israel at Sinai, now going back, you're going to see something. What was the requirement for Abraham when he entered into covenant with him?
Circumcise his whole house.
He circumcised what? His whole house. And who else?
And all his servants.
All his servants, everybody.
Everybody there.
Was it not the same thing for Israel? Did not they circumcise?
Mm-hmm.
What happened when they broke that covenant at Sinai? Y'all remember when Joshua got ready to take Israel into the land? What's the first thing he made them do? Why? They had circumcised for 40 years. The whole 40 years Israel was in the wilderness. They did not circumcise. Because you cannot circumcise to a broken covenant. That covenant was broken. So why did he make them circumcise before they went into Canaan?
Did he establish a new covenant with them, if you remember?
They were going to receive the inheritance.
Yeah, because now circumcision is a right to what? The inheritance of the land. It became a land right. You have to be circumcised to enter into the land. Y'all don't find it strange that you don't hear Hamashiach talk about circumcision not one time?
He does.
He does. This right here.
When he said y'all circumcise your kids on the seventh day, when they were getting on about the Sabbath.
Right.
It was like y'all circumcise your children on the Shabbat. Why can't I heal?
Right. But he said they, but what is it? Can you find one time where he told anybody to circumcise? That's not in there. You'll never find that. But weren't they in Jerusalem? Why wouldn't he have been pushing that and teaching that? Because remember, his message was going to a people who had totally stopped circumcising. We can go back to Maccabees to find all this stuff out. Why? Because they wouldn't have been doing it. What was Apostle Paul's message? Did he ever tell anybody to get circumcised?
He spoke of circumcision.
I bet y'all said, what that got to do with this lesson? Because Isaiah 53 and everything is about that covenant, bringing us back to that covenant. It's because, even though they was in Jerusalem, they didn't have rights to the land. Remember, they were under Roman occupation. Remember he told Peter to run out to Caesar what it is? It became a right to the land, so you won't hear about it. You'll never find that. But one thing he will talk about is what? Circumcision of the heart. Now, he's telling us to what? Present your body as a living sacrifice. Now everything's about what? The spiritual man. Why would it be about the spiritual man? How many hundreds of years was it about the physical man and they still remain wicked? I mean, did I say physical? Yeah, for hundreds of years they were. For hundreds of years they what? They were about the physical man. They still what? They still remain wicked. So I'm going to show you all of these sacrifices. Remember I say it means to bring you near? What does it bring you near? It brings you back into covenant relation. Let me say it again. These sacrifices were to bring you what? Back into covenant relationship with the Father. All of this was a rehearsal or a mikra. All of the festival feast days, that's what it's called. A mikra, which is a rehearsal. They are preparing you for something in the future. That's why Apostle Shaul, was they not trying to stone this man to death? How many times did they go upside his head with rocks? About 5 times?
Oh, yeah.
Because they thought he was what? He was teaching against Torah. He was teaching against circumcision. Matter of fact, when they asked they said, what shall we do concerning the Gentiles? And we know they were Israelites. They only told them to what? Gave them 3 things to be concerned about. Abstaining from drinking blood, because you know they were, what? Y'all don't remember what he said? Wow. It all had to relate to blood and idols. Not once was circumcision mentioned. And that should have been the first thing mentioned. Why? Because the Abrahamic covenant, circumcision was required. But it was never mentioned because what did Apostle Shaul know? Shaul know? Yeah, what did he know? That covenant was long gone. It was broken.
They were wicked.
Yeah, it was long gone. It was broken. And y'all ever notice when we get to and start reading the Messianic teachings, what's the one thing Judah, the circumcised, always used for their trump card? They don't want to have to do anything with the Messiah, or Hamashiach. What did they always bring up? Circumcision in Abraham. And that's what made the Apostle Shaul's job so hard. That's what made Hamashiach minister so hard, because this is what they were fighting against. Because nobody was understanding what Hamashiach really came to do. The only way you can get back in the covenant relationship with the Father is how? Going through the Son. He said, no man cometh to the Father but by me. Why would a man have to come to the Father? The whole book is about your relationship with the Father. He just used his Son as a mean or animals to bring you back into covenant relationship with the Father. That's why his Son is being the what? Guilt offering. That's why his Son is being what? The sacrificial offering. That's why when he got rid of sacrifice, Abraham got rid of sacrifice Isaac, and he looked towards heaven, he heard a voice said, look behind you, there's a what? A ram in the bush. But what happened before then? Isaac got to looking around, he saw the wood, he see this damn fire, and he was like, hey man, I see all this stuff ready for the sacrifice. He said, but where's the lamb? Oh, good, praise that. He said, hey man, I see all this stuff ready for this, but where's the lamb? And what did Abraham tell his son? He said, you will what? Provide what? Or did he say Yahuwah will provide himself?
Right.
He said Yahuwah will provide himself a lamb. So if Yahuwah is providing himself a lamb, who would that lamb be? So he's giving his very own son, or he sacrificed his very own son to do what? To bring a sinful people back into covenant relation with him.
With himself.
With him. It's about him. So when we start looking at all of these offerings, all of these things that are being done, They all serve a purpose. They're to bring you back into covenant relationship with the Father. And so we're going to look at these things. Let's go over to Yashra'al, Leviticus. Before we go there, let's go over to Genesis 4 and 3, as long as I can. Genesis 3, 4 through 5.
3 or 4 and 3?
I mean 4,
Chapter
3
4.
through 5. Yeah, chapter 4, 3 through 5. Chapter 4, verses 3 through 5. Genesis or Bereshit?
Bereshit, or Genesis 4, verse 3. And in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto Yahuwah. And Abel, he also brought of the firstling of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And Yahuwah had respect unto Abel, and to his offering. But unto Cain, and to his offering, he had not respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And Yahuwah said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen?
No, that's good. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
If you doest well, shall you not be accepted? And if you doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto you shall be his desire, and you shall rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. And Yahuwah said unto Cain, Where is Abel, your brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What has you done? The voice of your brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground.
Okay, then that's good right there. So you have all of this, which started because of what?
Sin.
Your sin, jealousy.
Because of the sin of Abraham and the sin of Eve and Adam.
The type of offering.
Right, and yeah, that's the type of offering. Okay, then what was it about Cain's offering? Go ahead, say it again now.
Because it wasn't the first, like the best of his flock, the best that he had.
Right, it wasn't the first what?
First fruits.
First fruit. You're right. So it wasn't the first fruit. So you see a pattern right here. Cain only had one thing on his mind. You're going to see this with Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, Esau, Cain, and Abel. You remember last week we talked about all the youngest sons were the covenant children? All of the youngest sons were what? Shepherds. All of the older sons were what? Men of the field. Now, the Most High spoke something very key in one of those verses. He talked about Cain's desire. And this is what you see all throughout our history. He said Cain desired to do what? Rule over his brother. So this is Israel's struggle and fight throughout the annals of time. Our brother has always sought to rule over us. And he told Jacob that, did he tell Jacob Esau was going to rule over him? But when the time comes, he was going to have to do what? Yeah, you're going to have to break the chain. You're going to have to let him loose. So you see something with that, all because of jealousy there. We have, when it comes to the offering, Yahuwah wants what? Your best. He wants your first fruit. The first fruit belongs to him. Even when he established Israel before the golden calf at Sinai, what was Yahuwah's portion?
Firstborn.
Thank you. Say it again, bro.
Firstborn.
The firstborn out of your cattle, your kine, your stock, everything, your sons. The firstborn was Yahuwah's portion. Matter of fact, had it not been for the sin of the golden calf, there would not have been a Levitical priesthood. Because he had already chosen the firstborn sons. They were going to do his services. So, let's continue. Let's go to Leviticus. Let's go to Leviticus. We'll start at 3 and 1. Yeah, we're going to Leviticus. Yes.
Leviticus 3 verse 1. And if his oblation be a sacrifice of peace offering, if he offer it of the herd, whether it be a male or female, he shall offer it without blemish before Yahuwah. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of his offering, and kill it at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron's sons, the priest, shall sprinkle the blood upon the altar round about. And he shall offer of the sacrifice of the peace offering an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah, the fat that covereth the inwards, and all that fat that is upon the inwards, and the 2 kidneys and the fat that is on them, which is by the flanks, and the caul above the liver with the kidneys, it shall he take away. And Aaron's sons shall burn it on the altar upon the burnt sacrifice, which is upon the wood that is on the fire. It is an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto Yahuwah. And if his offering for a sacrifice of peace offering unto Yahuwah be of the flock, male or female, he shall offer it without blemish. If he offer a lamb for his offering, then shall he offer it before Yahuwah. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of his offering, and kill it before the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron's sons shall sprinkle the blood thereof round about upon the altar.
Okay. Now, when we're looking at this, now this is to be what? A burnt offering. It's called a what? Peace offering. Very important. So, when these things are burned, it says it's a sweet smelling what? To who? To Yahuwah. So, this burnt offering is also called what? Peace offering or ascension offering. Because it ascends and it goes where? Up. It ascends to Yahuwah. It's a sweet smelling savor. So, what kind of offering did Noah make when they got off the ark?
One with every animal that we sacrifice and pour wine on top of it.
Okay, then, so this would have been a burnt offering or an ascension offering. It was such a good aroma, a flavor, a savor to the Most High. What's the first thing he spoke to Adam when that sacrifice was made? I mean, Noah, I'm sorry.
He shall not flush.
Thank you. He made an oath and a promise. He said he shall not what? Cause of what? The earth to be destroyed by flood again. Or man to be destroyed by flood. All of that because of what? An offering of peace made unto Yahuwah. Now when it comes to a peace offering, The importance of a peace offering is, this is one offering that's done, what happened, will take place. When there's a peace offering made, when this sacrifice is done and the meat is burned or cooked or whatever, that's a meal. A peace offering will come in the form of an animal or a grain. There's a meal between the two parties of this offering. They sit down and commune. And when they make peace or sit down and commune, what does that do? It restores that relationship. So when you got Yahuwah giving his son, and remember, what did the high priest have to do? Did not they have to lay their hands what? Upon their head. They had to lay their hands upon the head of this lamb. And remember the other lesson we did when Hamashiach came before John to be a mercy witness. How did John introduce him? He said, behold what? The lamb which takes away what? The sin of the world. But what happened when he was being crucified? Remember, he's that same lamb they finished sacrifice. He's the Pesach. Did they not lay hands upon his head? They put a crown of thorns where? Just like Abraham looked behind him, he saw the what? The ram caught in the bush by the what? The thicket, by the horns of his head. Did not they accuse him of being a blasphemer? When they asked him who he was, he declared he was the Son, or he came from heaven from the Father. Did they not lay hands on his head? Did they not start punching him and beating him in the face? We go right to Scripture and find it. Is he not fulfilling all these things? Now you see how every offering we do, or they were commanded to do, how he fulfilled it in the flesh? That's why it's important that we look at every offering. Because by the time we get to Isaiah 53, we probably only have to spend about 10 minutes on it. But you know we'll go longer than that because we got to test some stuff down. Okay, let's go to, thanks, Uncle. Let's go to Exodus, the 20th chapter, verses 24 through 26. The 20th chapter.
The book of Shemot, or Exodus 20, verse 20. And Moshe, or Moses, said unto the people, fear not, for Elohim is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that you sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where Elohim was. And Yahuwah said unto Moses, thus you shall say unto the children of Yashra'al, or Israel, ye have seen that I have talked with you from Shamayim, or heaven. Ye shall not make with me Elohims of silver, neither shall ye make unto you Elohims of gold. An altar of earth you shall make unto me, and shall sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings, and the peace offerings, the sheep and thine oxen, in all places where I record my name. I will come unto you, and I will bless you. And if you make me an altar of stone, you shall not build it of hewn stone. For if you lift up your tool upon it, you have polluted it, neither shall you go up by steps unto mine altar, that your nakedness be not discovered thereon.
Okay, he said, neither shall I go up. What? Now read that again.
Exodus 20, verse 26. Neither shalt you go up by steps unto mine altar, that your nakedness be not discovered thereon.
Anybody know what he means right now?
Don't build high altars and high places. The people will see it putting your garment, you're walking up.
Right, you on to the first part. He said, don't build high altars or high places. Why? Because remember, look at Israel history. There's a lot of things the nations were doing. What's one thing the nations were known for, and Israel had started doing the same thing, because we saw signs of it, that when they first started coming to the Americas, building temples and high places. Y'all remember the step pyramids and stuff they were building? What were they for? Sacrifice.
Cause their kids to pass through fires.
That's what they were doing.
Really?
They were building these things to sacrifice their children.
Wow.
Because we don't like to talk, we like to talk about the covenant Israel and the laws and stuff that, we like to talk about the good Israel. We don't like to get into that wicked Israel. That's what they were doing. Yes, Israel at one time, they were sacrificing their children to these same deities that the nation was sacrificing. That's what they learned how to build the step pyramids and stuff. We call them step pyramids, but those were altars. And that's where they sacrificed their children to Moreh, and who else? What's the other dude's name? Rifram? Rifram, thank you. Man. Yeah, Israel had gotten into all of that. And the Most High already warning them. So, why is he talking about them? What did he say about their nakedness? So what now? How would they discover their own nakedness? Meaning that they don't what? Or what has happened? Would mean they've gotten into bed with other Elohims. If we just want to be crass about it, that's what happened when Canaan uncovered his father's nakedness. I mean, it wasn't Ham that uncovered his father's nakedness, wasn't it? What did he do? What does it mean to uncover your father's nakedness?
He laid with the father's wife.
Yeah, he laid with one of his father's wives. So the same thing is going to happen with Yashra'al if they do the same thing that the nations are doing. Because Yahuwah doesn't accept the sacrifice of your children, human like that. That's a no-no. Okay, let's go to, for some reason, seemed like there was a scripture I want to read, I forgot. So yeah, let's go over to Genesis 8 and 20. Because I did talk about it, I want to read it. Genesis 8 and 20.
Bereshit, or Genesis 8 verse 20. And Noah builded an altar unto Yahuwah, and took of every clean beast, and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And Yahuwah smelt a sweet savor. And Yahuwah said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done.
So what you said, that was some good lamb Noah had in the grill. He was like, I ain't gonna do that again. So what you see, the importance of the sacrifice, when they're done right and according to, this is how it brings you back into relationship with Yahuwah. Now let's look at something. Let's go to Genesis 31. Bereshit 31. And let's start at around 50.
Bereshit or Genesis 31 verse 50. If you shall afflict my daughters, or if you shall take other wives besides my daughters, no man is with us. See, Elohim is witness between me and you. And Laban said to Jacob, behold, this heap, and behold, this pillar, which I have cast between me and you. The heap be witness, and this pillar be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to you, and that you shall not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. The Elohim of Abraham and the Elohim of Nahor, the Elohim of their father, judge between us. And Jacob or Jacob swear by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount and called his brethren to eat lecum or bread. And they did eat bread and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning, Laban rose up and kissed his son and his daughters and blessed them or baruched them. And Laban departed and returned unto his place.
Okay, then what just happened now? There was a covenant made, right? A peace covenant. A covenant of peace, an offering made. Once the offering is made, what did they do?
They left.
They had a covenant meal. Does that sound familiar? They had a covenant meal, and they went on their way. Were they at peace before then? You know, Jacob and Laban had a kind of rocky relationship there. It was up and down, in and out, all around. But they finally entered into what?
Peace covenant.
They made peace. They entered into a peace agreement or a peace covenant. Well, Yahuwah as a witness, and they left a memorial to also bear witness. And then they had a what? A covenant meal. So now what has happened? Now that they've had that meal, they've made peace. Now they're back in what? In unity. Back in a covenant bonding relationship. A covenant bonding relationship. So what y'all think gonna happen with Hamashiach? Because you know there's still a covenant of peace to be made. Same thing.
You said between him and the people, or between
Hamashiach and the people. It's going to be a peace covenant. Although we look at it as a marriage, there's a lot going on with this marriage. It's called the marriage supper for a reason. Because that's why I started with this Isaiah 53 thing. This is why we went all the way back to Adon or Eden. Because there has to be something restored from that end, and something restored and repaired from the end of Yashra'al as a nation of people. He still has to make a covenant relationship, or a covenant of peace with mankind as well. And that's the part a lot of times we forget. He still makes a covenant of peace with mankind. And when I say mankind, I'm talking about the nations. He makes a covenant of peace with the nation of Yashra'al, and he makes a covenant of peace with the people. Even though he's going to send them back to their borders, they're going to dwell in their lands, it still will be a covenant of peace because you're going to have peace all over the earth. Let's go to How far do we read down on? Okay, let's go to Genesis 46, beginning at the first verse.
Bereshit, or Genesis 46, verse 1. And Israel took his journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices unto Elohim of his father Isaac. And Elohim spake unto Israel in the visions of the night, and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here am I. And he said, I am Elohim, the Elohim of your father. Fear not to go down into Mizraim or Egypt, for I will there make of you a great nation. I will go down with you into Egypt, and I will also surely bring you up again. And Yahweh said, For Joseph shall put his hand upon your eyes. And Jacob rose up from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried Jacob, their father, and their little ones, and their wives, in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And they took their cattle and their goods, which they had gotten in the land of Canaan, and came into Egypt, Jacob and all his seed with him.
Okay, they took their cattle, they took all they had and took it into where? Egypt. Okay, let's go to Shemot, Exodus 10 and 25. And we're going to see why it's important that they take their cattle and all they have with them. Even though they're in another land. Yes.
Exodus 10, verse 25. And Moshe said, Thou must give us also sacrifices and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice unto Yahuwah our Elohim.
Read that again, huh?
Exodus 10, verse 25. And Moses said, Thou must give us also sacrifices and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice unto Yahuwah our Elohim.
So they're down in Egypt, and they still have to do what? Sacrifices and what? Sacrifices and burnt offerings to present to Yahuwah. Sacrifices and burnt offerings. Now let's go to Exodus 20 and 24.
Exodus 20, verse 24. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings, and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thy oxen, in all places where I record my name, I will come unto you and will bless you.
He said that burnt offerings and what? And peace offerings. And see, that's another thing. When we get into these other offerings, people tend to confuse or get it confused and mixed up when it comes to a gift offering and a sin offering. Most people think they're synonymous or the same, but they're not. There's a difference between a gift offering and a sin offering. And that's going to be the key to understanding Isaiah 53. Because like I said, if you pay close attention to Isaiah 53, you're going to see that Hamashiach is covering and fulfilling all of it. Peace, guilt, sin, all of it. But you got to know what to look for. That's why we're looking at these offerings. You're hearing about the priest having to lay his what? Hands upon the head of the sacrifice. sprinkle the altar with blood. The meat has to be positioned on the altar a certain way. All of this is so important. So when we get to Isaiah 53, if you can identify these things, you know what's going on. Let's go to one more. Let's go to Exodus 24, verses 4 and 5. Let's start at verse 1. Exodus 24, Shemot 24, verse 1 through 5. 5. Do I need to go to 1 through 8? Let's go to 1 through 8.
The book of Shemot, or Exodus 24, verse 1. And he said unto Moshe, come up unto Yahuwah, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Yashra'al, or Israel, and worship ye and worship ye afar off. And Moses alone shall come near Yahuwah, but they shall not come nigh, neither shall the people go up with him. And Moses came up, and Moses came and told the people all the words of Yahuwah, and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice, and said, all the words which Yahuwah hath said will we do. And Moses wrote all the words of Yahuwah, and rose up early in the morning, and builded an altar under the hill, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings, and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto Yahuwah. And Moses took half of the blood, and put it in a basin, and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant, and read in the audience of the people. And they said, all that Yahuwah hath said will we do, and be obedient.
Stop right there. He took what? Let me tell y'all something. This is key to your salvation right here. He took the book of the covenant and read it in the audience of the people. What was written in the book of the covenant?
The law.
The law consisted of what?
10 Commandments.
The 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments and the 10 Commandments only. The 10 Commandments only. Read that one more time out. Because when I say I'm trying my best to get the nation of Yashra'al as a whole to understand what's going on here.
That's all we had.
That's all we
That's all
had.
we had.
Did they break the law or did they break the book of the covenant? The law came about because of the covenant that was broken.
Right. Didn't maintain the covenant.
That's right.
That's why the original covenant, this is what Yahuwah is trying to restore us, to bring us back under the original covenant. I'm going to let Zarza Ken go ahead and read that one more time.
Exodus, what chapter?
We're 24. You want me to read the whole thing or just read from 7?
7. Thank you.
Exodus 24, verse 7. And he took the book of the covenant,
And he took the book of the covenant
and read in the audience of the people. And they said, all that Yahuwah have said will we do, and be obedient.
all that he said we will do and be obedient.
Verse 8. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which Yahuwah have made with you concerning all these words.
Blood of the covenant.
So, he took the book of the covenant, he read it in the audience of the people, and the people agreed to what? The terms of what was read, and he took the blood and he did what? He sprinkled upon the people. Did he just sprinkle upon the people only? What else did he sprinkle?
The altar.
Okay. I was waiting to sprinkle the covenant too. Huh?
And said, behold, the blood of the covenant, which Elohim hath made with you concerning all these words.
The blood of the covenant. So, with this, we see something came after this. This is why it's important for the nation of Yashra'al to understand. Everything that we're reading about, all of these sacrifices and all that stuff, is to bring you back into the covenant and back under the covenant. So the same thing you see happening here, because I can guarantee we can keep reading and you'll see where they sat down and they ate and had a covenant meal. What y'all think Hamashiach is doing after his crucifixion? When he goes before the disciples, and he speaks to them, he said what? Take you what? And eat what?
Flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood.
He said, for this is my body which what? Broken for you. So when we go look at some of the offering, you see a grain offering, you're going to see all of a sudden there are loaves that are being sacrificed as well. Bread or loaves. So if he said, take this, for this is my body which was broken for you, why is so much emphasis on his body? If you don't know what the sacrifices consist of, that makes no sense to you. Then he said, take you what and drink you all of it for what? This is my blood that was shed. And he says the blood of what? Did he not mention the blood had something to pertain to a covenant? Unless I'm slipping. What did he say? This is my blood which was shed for what? I just what he said for the new covenant.
Let's find it.
Come on, Zacchaeus, you know this. You know where it is. We might not, but you do.
Somebody get Mark 14 and 24. Mark 14 and 24.
Mark 14, verse 24. And he said unto them, this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many.
Continue. Yeah.
Verily I say unto you, I will drink no more of the fruit of the vine until that day that I drink it new in the kingdom of Elohim.
Okay. Very important. He said, what you guys do?
No, I was in Mark. I was in Matthew. I'm sorry.
Well, isn't that more than once?
I'm sorry, what?
You got Matthew?
No.
Oh.
I'm backed out.
John 12, 32 and 33.
Read you a lot.
Make sure I'm in the right spot.
But even the verse that King read, if you look at the word in the Thyers, G1242,
Yeah, it means
it
covenant.
means covenant.
Right, and mine's actually read covenant though.
Okay.
What verse do you read from?
What you say again?
You read Mark.
Right.
Yeah, which translation or which
Oh, which translation?
Oh, from the King James.
King James? Okay. He said, "This is my blood of what? The new covenant." So you also see how Mashiach fulfills something else, but let's focus on what did you read? You
I had John 12:32.
read it again.
It says, and if I be lifted up from the earth, will I draw all men unto me? Then he said, signifying what death he should die. The people answered him, we have heard out of the law that Christ abideth forever, and how sayest thou, the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is the Son of Man? Then Yashra'al said unto them, yet a little while is the light with you. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness come upon you. For he that walks in darkness.
No, I'm talking when you read what it said. This is he said, "For I will not drink with you again."
That's what I'm looking for. When I was in John, I was in John, skipping around, should have went to Aliyahu.
Luke 22. I have one, Luke 22. Let me see. Start at 15. Luke 22 and 15. And he said unto them, with desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of Elohim. Is that it?
Yeah, did you say eat there?
Yeah, he said, for I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of Elohim.
Yeah, but it's another one I'm looking for.
I got you. Matthew 26:26.
It's in Luke 22:18 also.
Okay.
Right, because I was going to read down. Exactly.
I got read too.
From, okay, what was that, 16? And he took, this verse 17, and he took the cup and gave thanks and said, take this and divide it amongst yourselves. For I say unto you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of Elohim shall come.
Okay, so what's going on there?
I got one more.
It's more.
Matthew 26:26. And as they were eating, Yashra'al took bread and brooked it and brake it and gave it unto the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until the day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom.
Okay then.
Right.
So my question again, what is going on there?
A meal. Yeah, a peace offering.
Okay, yeah, it's a meal. It's you call it a peace offering. But what's going on?
He let them know I'm finna go pass away.
Okay then, so what is he? Why is he explaining that to them?
About the bread and then the wine.
Yeah, and most
Sacrifice.
specifically about the wine.
Sacrifice later on. We'll sacrifice. Well, it was sacrifice before then.
Mm-hmm. You sacrifice before then.
The wine and the bread. The bread represents him being the sacrificial lamb, and the wine represents his blood for the remission of sins.
But he told us, y'all go ahead and drink. He said, no, I'm not going to drink again.
Right.
Come on, you don't answer. You still looking like you know it.
You can't drink again until the marriage over. Until the marriage.
He can't drink again until what?
Right.
The marriage. Why?
He got to gather the. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, doesn't doesn't he have to die so then Yashra'al can actually go into the marriage with the new husband?
For the bride gotta be ready.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, right?
Right, because in that this Hebrew marriage, we have 4 betrothal couples in the ketubah. So when you get to the 3rd cup, it's customary that only the bride drink. The groom and bride drink at the 1st betrothal cup. The groom and bride drink at the 2nd betrothal cup. The 3rd betrothal cup, only the bride drink. At the 4th betrothal cup, which is also at the marriage supper, the groom sits down with his bride and they have the marriage supper and the final betrothal cup together. That's why he said, you drink. He said, I should not drink with you to win. You know, he mentioned about his father's kingdom. What happened when his father's kingdom is established? Because when he brings and establishes his kingdom, what's happened with the nation of Yashra'al?
They're being reconciled.
Okay, they're being reconciled. And what has gone out? The shofar has been blown, a shout has gone out for Israel to know what? Your bridegroom coming. So Israel is ready what? To enter into the final stage of that marriage. And that's when the marriage supper takes place. That's why we said the new covenant has not been established yet. The 2 houses have to be reunited before that to take place. But you see how all of it brings us back to a covenant? Back to the original covenant? So you see Hamashiach fulfilling all of these things. And I always notice this. And pay close attention to this. Y'all don't find it strange that some of the stuff that Hamashiach says, it seems to be far and kind of way out there in the left field or something? They be like, back in your mind, you know, they were always guessing. What do they mean? He's over here. He all fan. But when you look at it, he's using agricultural things to speak to the people. Agriculture is the terminology and the language that he uses to convey every message. So when we're dealing with these sacrifices, if you understand about the grain offerings, you automatically, when he said, this is my body, which was broken for you, he's speaking of himself, but remember all that stuff was a foreshadowing or a tutor or a schoolmaster until he comes. All of those things were supposed to teach the people something.
It's like he used the things around them that they come and see and use every day.
Yeah, because he knew what they would be able to identify with that. And so when we see him say these things and do certain things, you got to know that there's a connection. Only thing you have to start doing, when you hear him say something, start going backwards. And start going all the way back and move forward. And you're going to say, okay then, this is why he's saying that. That makes a lot of sense.
So we got to train ourselves to go back to time and what was coming to them to make it coming to us to understand what he's saying.
Exactly. All of that stuff, when he told Peter, he says, I don't wash your feet. He said, you cannot have no part with me in my Father's kingdom. Or you can have no part with me. But if you don't understand the culture of Israel, because the first thing that comes to your mind, why is he telling him he can't have no part with him? Because he don't want him to wash his feet.
Yes, foreign to us. It's foreign to us.
It's foreign to us. But during that same marriage betrothal, what happens at that same covenant or that same betrothal covenant? The groom washes the feet of his bride. This is why he's telling Peter, if I don't do this, you can have no part with me. You can't accept this part of the covenant and betrothal, then all of a sudden you see this you don't like, you want to skip that and go to the next part. It doesn't work that way. You have to be in full agreement of what he's asking. so we're going to start focusing and looking on these things because everything, I know people don't like to read, but I'm telling y'all, Leviticus is so important to read. And just take your time and just go through that reading. Even if it's just 10 verses a day. Go through that and get some understanding, start being able to identify what these offerings. So we did the peace offering today. So next Shabbat we'll start looking at another offering and looking more into it, and then we'll be able to identify with Hamashiach more. You begin to see him more and more. Go ahead, Aki.
What were the different offerings? It was peace, guilt, transgression. I know the English says one thing, and then the Hebrew will probably narrow it down some more. That they're.
You had your burnt offering. You had your grain offering. You had your sin offering. Your guilt or trespass offering, and that's key right there. The guilt, the trespass, and what else am I missing? Because there's 5 main sacrifices they had. Did I say peace?
Yeah, that was the first one.
Okay. Peace, guilt, sin, grain.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you take
Burnt grain, sin, trespass, guilt.
Trespass and guilt.
Yeah.
Are those the same or are they different?
Your trespass and guilt would be the same.
You said number 5?
Yeah.
Is one more important than the other? As far as type of offerings?
No. I don't think one is more important than the other. Because Hamashiach had to fulfill all of them, so I think they all hold equal weight. Now, I guess the sin offering, it would be a little more weightier than the others.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
And the burnt is continual offering day by day?
Yeah, that burnt, we're going to get into that too. So the burnt offering is a continual offering because you'll see it was to be done what? Daily and a certain time of the day. They did one at what? Because they did, how many offerings did they do a day? Twice a day. That's very important. And you're going to see Hamashiach fulfill that too. Because at the time that offering is to take place, you'll see he died at the exact same time. So, with that being said, we are going to, I guess, open the floor for questions pertaining to the lesson, as Zaza came would say.
Yeah, because we'll get some questions talking
I know, right? That's going to ask a question about spaceships, and the chariots of y'all. We try to give me y'all trying to show off his new press shawl and
I had this for a long time. Ordered from a site that you put me on. Now they sending them out with 6-point stars on them. It ain't like that one.
no questions.
I got a question. Put this lesson on me about like 8 years ago, huh? Because it took me a while to start wrapping my mind around this lesson when you first started. And then everywhere you start saying me to go, I had this same book about 8-9 years ago too. So that's why I like go to 8 when I was reading, because I started looking at it, I said, hold on, man. I got everything marked, but also written back. So I knew then that I saw he going back over the same lesson again.
Yeah.
It was a good refreshment for me. I needed it definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons, older ones I got to rehash.
You remember when you first took training, you said we're gonna keep doing the same thing over and over every year. We're gonna start over. Everything we learn, we're gonna learn all over again every year till it's important.
And technically, that's what we should be doing. Actually, we used to do Torah portions.
Yeah.
And, of course, you know, we never stayed on the cycle because our lessons, you know, sometimes lesson might last 3 Shabbats, and you know, that takes you off the Torah portion cycle, you know, but you way behind the cycle. But I want to kind of eventually start getting back into the Torah portions. Y'all know what Torah portions are? Okay, it's kind of like your book is divided up into the Torah, the prophets, and the writings, or what we call the Messianic teaching. So what Torah portions do, they give you the understanding of something in the Torah. Prophet witness was written in the Torah, and the Messianic teaching confirm and witness both the Torah and the prophets. For example, if you go to Bereshit and you start reading the first chapter, what is it talking about? Creation. So if you go to Isaiah, and Isaiah is what? A prophet. If you read from like the 6th chapter, I believe it is, to like the 13th chapter, Isaiah is talking about what? Creation. If you go to the writings, or what we call the New Testament, you go to John, what is John talking about?
Beginning.
Which would be what?
Creation.
Creation. So now you have it from the Torah, the prophet, and the writings. So now you are never in contradiction with anything, because it's written in the Torah, spoken through the mouths of the prophet, and confirmed in the writings. That way he said precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little.
And it's all the way through.
It's all the way through the scripture like that. Anything we say, we should be able to find it in the what? The Torah, then go validate it and confirm it with the prophet, then go to the Messianic teachings and confirm it. You got 3 witnesses.
I can't lie. When I learned the Torah portions, that thing, before I knew it, I was standing in front of a liquor store with a garment on with a group of guys behind me going crazy in the
You
streets.
never go So eventually, we'll get back into the Torah portion, but it's so much foundational stuff I want to do first, because I realized that there are a lot of foundational truths that our people have overlooked, and a lot of times, you know, Israel, we're in a bad habit. We attack religious institutions in the Christian church on for just listening to things and allowing people to tell us anything and we regurgitate it. But we don't find fault, and we don't be honest with ourselves and tell the truth that there's a lot of things since we've come into the Hebraic walk, we've guilty of doing the same thing. Because Moreh said this, because Moreh said that, and because they're in the truth or in the walk, I should say, we kind of take them and take it as, you know, who the word of Christ, you know what I'm saying, the president. And so, and we don't what? Go back and fact check, research.
That's what we used to go through, you know, back 20 plus years ago. We took everything, you know, the so-called high priest was saying, and we never really researched it or, you know, checked it out for ourselves, and come to find out that a lot of that stuff.
Just as wrong as 2 left shoes.
I think Paul talking about the Berean curse.
Well, the Bereans search the scriptures daily to see if what was being said was true.
Right. And that's how we have to do. We have to be as the Bereans. That's why certain arguments and certain debates I don't like to get into, because I know when a person hasn't read or research to study a certain thing, it just causes you to just go back and forth and go in circles. And it starts getting crazy then. I was telling Zarzakan here, I said, you won't believe how many people I've spoken to, and when we talk about the act of circumcision, because we've been talking about that a lot, and I said most people don't know that Israel didn't circumcise for 40 years in the wilderness. The whole entire time they was in the wilderness, they didn't circumcise. And when I bring it to people, they look at me like, what? They said, are you sure? I said, I'm positive. I said, because you hear something so long, you know, everybody put so much emphasis on something until you just take it, you know, take it as, you know, gold. And then I said, no, we cannot do that.
You know, when you're saying Israel did not circumcise for 40 years, but they were told to circumcise when they got into the land. It was a land covenant. Now, the whole time they're in the land, they're circumcising. So, I mean, was it...
But you just said the key. I'm going to help you answer your own question. You said the whole time they were what?
The whole time they're in the land, they're circumcised.
The whole time they were where?
They're in the land.
In the land.
What is the covenant with the land?
Because again, the covenant was what? With the
In
land.
order to live in the land, in order for the land to, this is simple, to produce for you, you have to be in covenant relationship with the land. And I'm basing that on when the Bible talks about, scriptures talk about a certain group of people that went in the land and got chased out by the lions because they weren't living the way they were supposed to be living in the land. But where my thought come in at is that...
But were they allowed to stay in the land? Because you go find out and read. They
I
would have found somebody.
about to teach them how to
Yeah,
live.
to teach them how.
But here's the thing. With the Messiah, I mean, by the time the Messiah comes on the scene in the land, they're being occupied by the Romans. And so we know eventually that they get put out of the land, right? So what are you, and this is my question, are you saying that the covenant that they established with the land had nothing to do with the covenant that, the Ten Commandments?
Right.
The covenant that's a totally different covenant, is what
Right.
you're saying.
Because you never read it in the covenant, the book of the covenant, you can't find the word circumcision not one time in it.
So these people lived, so when they went into the land, this was not a covenant, them getting back under the covenant that was established with Abraham.
They couldn't get back under it. It would have been impossible for them to get back under that covenant.
Because of the golden calf?
Right, and because of the agreement.
So they're in this land without having a covenant with Yahuwah.
Right, they're in that land under a body of legislation called the law.
Called the law.
That's all the law is, a body of legislation to govern a nation of people.
Right. Wow. But there is no covenant.
It's just like our United States Constitution, a body of legislation to govern citizens of the United States of America.
And it kind of explains itself because you could not be, they would not have been occupied.
Because remember now, they was in Jerusalem when Hamashiach told Peter, render unto Caesar what is his. First of all, he told him to look at the money. He said, take the coin out and look at it, tell me whose image you see on it. And that's why I always emphasize that. You can tell when you're in captivity. When you go to spend money, and the pictures, the images that you see on it is of a people other than yourself, you're in captivity.
Right.
That's the nation who you are subject to.
So, I guess what's happening, and I think a little bit that's confusing me, is that you see all throughout the time fighting for them. Well, actually, the lot of the fights came before they got into the land. And once they, no, but they had to drive out the people that.
But let me help you out though. I always, yeah, but y'all have to pay attention to these questions I ask you. I have my reason for asking you. And I ask it all the time. What makes this captivity different from any other captivity we've been under?
Captivity that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
We lost our identity, therefore lost our relationship with you.
Right, and why is that?
Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean, why is that?
Okay, check this out. Name me one captivity that you read about in the scriptures that Israel was not a nation, a recognized nation.
Right, none.
That the nations didn't know they were Israel, or Israel didn't know they were Israel.
Said this one, you would just continue to preserve your heritage.
Except this one.
So we don't even know how to cry out, is what you're saying.
Oh, because you can't cry out if you don't know who to cry out to, and you don't know who you are, and then it's required that you cry out. This is the first captivity that Israel has ever been disassembled until the fact, or to the point that they don't know they're the people, and the nations that surround them don't even know they're the people. Matter of fact, when you go to Psalm 83, they say, come let us cut them off from being a nation. Go look up that and tell me what the Hebrew word is and what it means. It means to hide. They hid you.
So what mean? What are you looking up?
Psalm 83.
When you look at the word cut,
When he said, let's cut them off from being a nation.
Oh,
it means
hide them off of being a nation.
Yeah, to hide.
Yeah, makes sense.
It take y'all that long to get that?
Let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Yashra'al may be no more in remembrance. And you want me to look up which word?
Well, big bro finna get it, so I can't forget it.
What, to cut them off?
I got
Yeah.
it right here.
H3582.
What does it mean?
Which is kakad, or kokad. It's a primitive root to secrete by act or word, hence intentionally to destroy, to conceal. So when you conceal, that means, to hide.
And mine's actually say that.
Right, it says cut down, off, desolate, or hide. Yeah, it's there.
And how did Psalms 83 open up? Somebody get the beginning of Psalms 83.
Psalms, the book of Tehillim, or Psalms 83 verse 1. Make a tumult, and they that hate you have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against your people and consulted against your hidden ones.
Consulted against your hidden one.
So, wow.
And that's what they've done. Your identity, your everything has been hidden. They've caused us to assimilate into this culture, so to the vast majority of our people don't know who they are. The nations that surround them don't know who they are. The only people that know are the powers that be, who are Confederate. They know. And that's why we will say it doesn't matter, because it was a right to enter into the land. That's why when the land was being occupied by someone else. And one thing you got to remember, do you not know your laws cannot usurp another man's laws in his land? I bet y'all don't ever think about that, do you?
We do. Well, let me speak for myself. Oh yeah.
That's why you're struggling so hard. There's a lot of things you want to do.
Yeah.
Because you know, you've read the Torah, it says do this, it says do that. Yeah, because you know, but another man's laws, because you're in another man's land, your laws cannot usurp the laws of the land.
That's right.
Any more questions, comments, or anything before we, okay, go ahead.
So I just wanted to go back when we were talking about the 5 offerings. So I kind of went and looked back, and the burnt and the peace are 2 separate offerings. So they have the burnt, the grain, the peace, the sin, and the guilt. So can we put the burnt and the peace together, or they're always separate?
They're separate.
So those are the 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is the will not one of them?
Mm-hmm.
The will offering not one of them?
Oh, but that's, those offers of free will. N.T. Moore. N.T. Moore. Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We're going to bring everything to a close, and at this time we are going to have the blowing of the shofar by Zazakan Gabaryahu, and we're going to have Moreh Yashra'al to pray us out. Mr. Levi himself.
Hey, man. We're going to talk to each other, man.
Slow-mo. Did you fix it?
You do that thing so good over and over. I'm like, okay.
Try it again. Excuse me, Shalika. Whoa.
Mercy.
Oh, gosh. Shalika. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Father Yahuwah, we thank you, Father, for letting us gather on the court today, Father, and keeping your Shabbat in the name of Yashra'al. Thank you, Father, for giving us the strength and giving us the power to overcome the things that weaken us in the name of Yashra'al in this walk, Father. I thank you, Father, for letting us be kind to one another, letting us be loving to our neighbors in the name of Yashra'al, to keep your commandments and your covenants in mind in the name of Yashra'al at all times, Father. I thank you, Father, for letting us continue to put it in effect, Father, and practicing it in our lifestyle, Father, so that we adopt it, Father, and we adopt our own way back in the name of Yahushua, in the way of your Torah, in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. I thank you, Father, in the name of Yahushua, for brooking everyone in here, Father. Y'all brooking our brother Kasadabar, who couldn't be here today, Father, y'all, his family, in the name of Yahushua Mashiach, Father. And I thank you for continuing to place us in the right time, in the right place, in the name of Yahushua. Keep us unified, Father, in the name of Yahushua. Brook the whole 12 tribes in the name of Yahushua Mashiach, Father, God. And I thank you, Father, for coming to get us soon come. Hallelujah. Amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.